teachers and trainers, professors and professionals, those who are listening, watching, PM Creator YouTube channel. I am Rakesh from USA. Heartily, cordially welcome all of you. Friends, today we will read Lost Spring, Stories of Stolen Childhood. A brief introduction about the author Jung, who born in 1964, was born in Rourkela and spent her childhood and adolescence in Hyderabad. She received her education in Hyderabad and in the United States of America. Her parents were both writers. Jung began her career as a writer in India. She had been an editor and columnist for major newspapers in India and abroad, and has authored several books. Lost Spring, Stories of Stolen Childhood. Here she analyzes the grinding poverty and condition which condemn these children to a life of exploitation. Sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage. Why do you do this? तुम ऐसा क्यों करते हो? I asked साहब से मैंने पूछा, whom I encounter every morning browsing for gold in the garbage dumps of my neighborhood. हर सुबह मुझे मेरे पड़ोस के कूड़े के ढेरों में से सोना ढूंढते हुए मिल जाते हैं. साहब left his home long ago. बहुत पहले साहब ने घर छोड़ दिया था. Set amidst the green fields of ढाका. ढाका के हरे भरे खेतों के मध्य स्थित अपने घरों की उसे कुछ भी याद नहीं है. His home is not even a distant memory. There were many storms that swept away their fields and their home. His mother tells him that's why they left, looking for God in the big city where he now lives. I have nothing else to do. मेरे पास करने के लिए और कोई कार्य नहीं है. He mutters, looking away. वह दूर देखते हुए बुदबुदाता है. Go to school. विद्यालय जाओ. I say glibly. लापरवाही से मैं कह देती हूँ. Realizing immediately. जल्दी ही जान जाती हूँ. How hollow the advice must sound. कि मेरा परामर्श कितना खोखला लगता होगा. There is no school in my neighborhood. मेरे पड़ोस में कोई विद्यमान विद्यालय नहीं है. When they build one, जब वे विद्यालय बना देंगे, I will go, मैं चला जाऊंगा. If I start a school, अगर मैं विद्यालय शुरू कर दूं, will you come? तो क्या तुम आओगे? I ask half joking, मजाक में मैं कुछ पूछती हूँ. Yes, he said, smiling broadly. हाँ, मुस्कुराते हुए वह जवाब देती है. A few days later, I see him running up to me. Is your school ready? मैं कुछ और दिनों के बाद देखती हूँ वह मेरे पास भागते हुए आता है. क्या आपका विद्यालय तैयार हो गया है? It takes longer to build a school, I say. विद्यालय को बनाने में देर लगती है। मैं कहती हूँ embarrassed at having made a promise, मुझे शर्म आती है कि मैंने ऐसा वादा किया था, that I was not mean, जिसे पूरा करने का मेरा कोई इरादा नहीं था, but promises like mine abound in every corner of his bleak world, लेकिन इस निराश भरी दुनिया में मेरे जैसे वायदे हर कोने में भरे पड़े हैं। After months of knowing him, एक महीने में उसे जानने के बाद, I asked him his name, मैंने उसका नाम पूछा। साहिब आलम, he announces, उसने जोर से कहा, he does not know what it means, उसे नहीं मालूम कि उसका क्या मतलब होता है। If he knows its meaning, अगर उससे इसका मतलब पता होता, लॉर्ड ऑफ द यूनिवर्स, विश्वपति, तो इस पर उसे विश्वास करना मुश्किल होता। He would have a hard time believing it, अपने नाम के मतलब से अनभिज्ञ वह अपने दोस्तों के साथ गलियों में घूमता है। Unaware of what his name represents, he roams the streets with his friends. नंगे पांव वाले लड़कों की फौज जो सुबह पक्षियों की तरह प्रकट होती है। An army of barefoot boys who appear like the morning birds and disappear at noon. Over the months, महीनों के बाद, over the months, I have come to recognize each of them. उनमें से प्रत्येक को मैं पहचानने लगी हूँ। Why aren't you wearing chappals? I asked one. तुमने चप्पल क्यों नहीं पहन रखी है? मैंने एक से पूछा। My mother did not bring them down from the shelf. He answered simply. ताक पर से मम्मी ने उतार कर नहीं दिए थे, उसने सीधा उत्तर दिया। Even if she did, he will throw them off at another who is wearing shoes that do not match. When I comment on it, he shuffles his feet and says, "Nothing, I want shoes," says a third boy who has never owned a pair all his life. जब इस पर मैंने टिप्पणी की तो वह अपने पैरों को मलने लगता है, कुछ नहीं कहता। मुझे जूते चाहिए, एक तीसरे लड़के ने कहा, जिसने अपनी जिंदगी में जूते कभी नहीं लिए थे। Traveling across the country, I have seen children. मैंने बच्चों को देश भर में घूमते हुए, शहरों में, गांव की सड़कों पर नंगे पांव चलते हुए देखा। It is not lack of money, but a tradition to stay barefoot. इसका एक कारण धन की कमी नहीं, बल्कि नंगे पैर रहने की एक प्रथा है। Is one explanation. I wonder if this is only an excuse to explain away. हैरान होकर मैं सोचती हूँ कि क्या शाश्वत की व्याख्या करने का यह केवल एक बहाना है। I wonder if this is only an excuse to explain away a perpetual state of poverty. I remember a story a man from Udupi once told me. वह कहानी मुझे याद है जो मुझे उडुपी के एक व्यक्ति ने सुनाई थी। As a young boy, he would go to school past an old temple. जब वह लड़का था तो विद्यालय जाने के लिए एक पुराने मंदिर के पास से निकलता था। Where his father was a priest, जहाँ पर उसके पिता पुजारी थे। He would stop briefly at the temple. वह मंदिर में कुछ समय के लिए रुकता था and pray for a pair of shoes. एंड जूतों के लिए प्रार्थना करता था। Thirty years later, I visited his town and the temple, which was now drowned in an air of desolation. In the backyard where lived the new priest, there were red and white plastic chairs. A young boy dressed in a grey uniform, wearing socks and shoes, arrived painting and threw his school bag on a folding bed, looking at the school, looking at the boy. I remembered the prayer another boy had made to the goddess when he had finally got a pair of shoes. Let me never lose them. The goddess had granted his prayer. Young boys, like the son of the priest, now wore shoes, but many others, like the rag pickers in my neighborhood, remain shoeless. My acquaintance with the barefoot rag pickers leads me to the Simapuri, a place on the periphery of Delhi, yet miles away from it. Metaphorically, those who live here are squatters who came from Bangladesh back in 1971. Sahib's family is among them. Simapuri was then a wilderness. It still is, but it is no longer empty. In structures of mud with roofs of tin and tarpaulin, devoid of sewage, drainage or running water, live 10,000 rag pickers. They have lived here for more than 30 years without an identity, without permits, but with rotation cards that get their names on water list and enable them to buy grain. Food is more important for survival than an identity. If at the end of the day we can feed our families and go to bed without an aching stomach, we would rather live here than in the fields that gave us to grain. Say, a group of women in the tattered saris, when I asked them why they left their beautiful land of green fields and rivers. Wherever they find food, they pitch their tents that become transit homes. Children grow up in them, becoming partners in survival, and survival in Simapuri means rag picking. Through the years, it has acquired the proportion of a fine art. Garbage to them is gold. It is their daily bread and a roof over their heads, even if it is a leaking rod, but for a child, it is even more. I sometimes find a rupee, even a 10 rupee note, Sahib says, his eyes lightening up. When you can find a silver coin in a heap of garbage, you don't stop scrounging, for there is hope of finding more. It seems that for children, garbage has a meaning different from what it means to their parents. For the children, it is wrapped in wonder. For the elders, it is a means of survival. One winter morning, I see Sahib standing by the fenced gate of the neighborhood club, watching two young men dressed in white playing tennis. I like the game. He hums, content to watch it standing behind the fence. I go inside when no one is around. He admits the gatekeeper lets me use the swing. Sahib too is wearing tennis shoes. that looked strange over his discolored shirt and shorts. Someone gave them to him, to me, he says, in the manner of an explanation. The fact that they are discarded shoes of some rich boy who perhaps refused to wear them because of a hole in one of them does not bother him. For one who has walked barefoot, even shoes with a hole is a dream come true. But the game he is watching so intently is out of his reach. This morning, Sahib is on his way to the milk booth. In his hand is a steel canister. I now walk in a tea stall down the road. He says, pointing in the distance, I am paid 800 rupees and all my meals. Does he like the job? I ask. His face, I see, has lost the carefree look. The steel canister seemed heavier than the plastic bag he would carry so lightly over his shoulder. The bag was his. The canister belongs to the man who owns the tea shop. Sahib is no longer his own master. Mukesh insists on being his own master. I will be a motor mechanic, he announces. Do you know anything about cars? I ask. I will learn to drive a car, he answers, looking straight into my eyes. His dream looms like a mirage amidst the dust of streets that will fill his town, Firozabad, famous for its bangles. Every other family in Firozabad is engaged in making bangles. It is the center of India's glass blowing industry, where families have spent generations working around furnaces, welding glass, making bangles for all the women in the land, it seems. Mukesh's family is among them. None of them know that it is illegal for children like him to work in glass furnace with high temperatures, in dingy cells without air and light, that the law, if enforced, could get him and all those 20,000 children out of the hot furnaces where they slope their daylight hours, often losing the brightness of their eyes. Mukesh's eyes beam as he volunteers to take me home, which he proudly says is being rebuilt. We walk down stinking lanes choked with garbage, past homes that remain families of humans and animals coexisting in a primal state. He stops at the door of one such house, bangs a wobbly iron door with his foot and pushes it up. We enter a half-built shack to one part of it, thatched with dead grass, with a firewood stove over which sits a large vessel of sizzling spinach leaves. On the ground in large aluminium plates are more chopped vegetables. A frail young woman is cooking the evening meal for the whole family. Though eyes filled with smoke, she smiled. She is the wife of Mukesh's elder brother, not much older in years. She has begun to command respect as the Bahu, the daughter-in-law of the house. already in charge of 3 men, her husband, Mukesh, and their father. When the older man enters, she gently withdraws behind the broken wall and brings her veil closer to her face. As custom behind, daughters-in-law must veil their faces before male elders. In this case, the elder is an impoverished bangles maker. Despite long years of hard labor, first as a tailor, then a bangle maker, he has failed to renovate a house, send his 2 sons to school. All he has managed to do to teach them what he knows, the art of making bangles. It is his karam, his destiny, says Mukesh's grandmother, who had watched her own husband go blind with the dust from polishing the glass of bangles. Can a God-given lineage ever be broken? She implies born the castle of bangle makers. They have seen nothing but bangles in the house, in the yard, in every other house, every other yard, every street. In Firozabad, spirals of bangles, sunny gold, paddy green, royal blue, pink, purple, every color born out of the 7 colors of the rainbow, lie in the mounds in unkempt yards, are piled on 4-wheeled hand carts pushed by young men along the narrow lanes of the shanty town, and in dark hutments next to lines of flames of flickering oil pumps sit boys and girls with their fathers and mothers welding pieces of colored glass into circles of bangles. Their eyes are more adjusted to the dark than to the light outside. That is why they often end up losing their eyesight before they become adults. Savita, a young girl in a drab pink dress, sits alongside an elderly woman soldering pieces of glass as her hands move mechanically like the tongues of a machine. I wonder if she knows the sanctity of the bangle she helps make. It symbolizes an Indian woman's suhag, auspiciousness in marriage. It will dawn on her suddenly one day when her head is draped with a red veil, her hands dyed red with henna and red bangles rolled into her wrist. She will then become a bride like the old woman beside her who became one many years ago. She still has bangles on her wrist but no light in her eyes. एक वक्त से भर खाना भी नहीं खाया. She says in a voice drained of joy. She has not enjoyed even one full meal in her entire lifetime. That's what she has reaped. Her husband, an old man with a flying beard, says, I know nothing except bangle. All I have done is make a house for the family to live in. Hearing him, one wonders if he has achieved what many have failed in their lifetime. He has a roof over his head. The cry of not having money to do anything except carry on the business of making bangles. Not even enough to eat, ring in every home. The young men echo the lament of their elders. Little has moved with time, it seems. In Firozabad, years of mind numbing toil have killed all initiative and the ability to dream. Why not organize yourself into a cooperative? I ask a group of young men who have fallen into the vicious circle of middlemen who trapped their fathers and forefathers. Even if we get organized, we are the ones who will be hauled up by the police, beaten and dragged to jail for doing something illegal. They say there is no leader among them, no one who could help them see things differently. Their fathers are as tired as they are. They took endlessly in a spiral that moves from poverty to apathy to greed and to injustice. Listening to them, I see two distinct words. One of the family caught in a web of poverty, burdened by the stigma of caste in which they are born. The other vicious cycle of the shalkars, the middlemen, the policemen, the keepers of law, the bureaucrats and the politicians. Together they have imposed the baggage on the child that he cannot put down. Before he is aware, he accepts it as naturally as his father. To do anything else would mean to dare, and daring is not part of his growing up. When I sense a flash of it in Mukesh, I am cheered. I want to be a motor mechanic. He repeats, he will go to the garbage and return, but the garbage is a long way from his home. I will walk, he insists. Do you also dream of flying a plane? He is suddenly silent. No, he says, staring at the ground in his small murmur. There is an embarrassment that has not yet turned into regret. He is content to dream of cars that he sees hurtling down the streets of his town. Few aeroplanes fly over Firouzabad. This is all about this lesson. Name of the lesson is Lost Spring. For the next lesson, we shall meet tomorrow with deep water. Thank you. Nice to see all of you whenever.